The email hit my inbox at 10:17 a.m. on an ordinary Tuesday in downtown Chicago. I was midway through reviewing Q3 renewal projections when the subject line appeared, celebrating exceptional leadership. Derek Harlan earns $890,000 performance bonus. My coffee went cold in my hand. The body praised unprecedented 31% retention growth across high-value segments and record portfolio expansion in mid-cap accounts, metrics pulled straight from the dashboards I had rebuilt after the Salesforce migration. The pivot tables I had formatted at 1:42 a.m. last quarter while Derek was probably celebrating somewhere downtown. I didn't slam my laptop shut. I didn't storm into his office. I simply highlighted the paragraph, copied it into a fresh document titled Timeline, and began typing every detail I remembered. The way he had presented my Q2 wrap-up memo verbatim in last month's All Hands, changing only the font to something bolder. The Highland Ridge account rescue I had flown to Denver for, calming a furious CFO after a compliance breach threat while Derek attended a vendor golf outing. The Clause 7.3c I had insisted on adding 2 years ago, linking client continuity to the assigned representative's Rep ID. My Rep ID, SM. 3 years at Apex Financial Advisors in the loop, and I had become the invisible architect of their client stability. I onboard the difficult ones, diffused complaints before they hit legal, handheld million-dollar accounts through restructurings. Derek's contributions? Approving my decks after swapping colors and claiming the vision. Men like him saw women like me as scenery, support, and heels. Useful until we outshone them. That email crystallized it. The calm that settled wasn't anger yet. It was precision. I pressed record on my phone during his next team huddle, capturing him weave my data into his narrative without attribution. Labeled the file quietly. Started a locked folder. Silence wasn't surrender, it was strategy. I spent evenings building the ledger. One column for account name, another for contract date, Rep ID, clause reference, email confirmations assigning me as lead. 42 clients. Surgical paper trails, edit logs showing my original submissions weeks before his final versions, CRM touchpoint logs with my midnight calls, scan thank you notes from grateful CEOs. The Thompson portfolio. I had spent weeks on site during their family crisis, holding the CEO's hand through her father's passing while fixing a migration glitch at 2 a.m. Derek had never even met her properly. The ledger grew airtight. I remembered the first time Derek had called me his favorite little organizer in front of VPs. Laughed it off then. Now it fueled me. I drafted a private email template to key clients, short, personal, changes on the horizon. Would love to catch up confidentially. Sent from my personal account to 4 anchors who had my cell for emergencies. 2 replied within hours. Wherever you go, we follow. One was the $24 million legacy account that had threatened legal action if I was ever reassigned without consent. Derek had bragged about reeling them in on a podcast. He never knew they stayed only because of me. The planning was meticulous. I worked through nights with wine and spreadsheets, cross-checking every contract like an autopsy. No drama. No vague social media posts. Just cold collection of receipts. By the time Derek posted his new LinkedIn headshot celebrating client-centric leadership, my resignation letter sat ready in a sealed envelope. 3 paragraphs. Dates. Gratitude. The client list attached. Clause 7.3c referenced. I chose Thursday, his early happy hour ritual, for delivery. Wore gray slacks. Black blouse. My grandmother's bracelet from my first pitch days when I still believed merit won. At 3:16 p.m., I placed the envelope dead center on his desk. Badge on top. List below with line 12 highlighted. The $24 million account. Walked out calmly. Took the 405 equivalent Kennedy Expressway to O'Hare. Flew to a remote cabin in Vermont. No Wi-Fi. Just trees, and the knowledge the fuse was lit. Derek wouldn't understand until morning. The cabin smelled of pine and quiet resolve. I hiked narrow trails each morning, replaying the 3 years in my mind. The late nights rewriting onboarding templates on red-eye flights. The compliance meeting where I pushed for Clause 7.3c to protect against rep changes disrupting trust. Derek had skimmed it, called it administrative fluff. Now that fluff was leverage. My phone stayed off, but I knew the timeline. Friday, 7:48 a.m. CFO Gerald Clean read the CC'd email. 6 minutes open. Forwarded to legal. His reply to me. Understood. Please confirm no pending obligations. Clarify line 12. Formal words masking panic. They saw the clause tying the bonus metrics to accounts legally bound to me. Misattribution meant fraudulent calculation. Clawback territory. Potential SEC exposure. Monday morning. Derek strutted in as usual, overpriced cologne, tight blazer, smirk intact. He hadn't fully read the list yet, dismissing it as dramatic exit from support role. Upstairs in conference room 4A. Oxygen shifted. Gerald sat with folders. Derek's bonus memo versus my roster. Clauses circled. These numbers don't match, he said flatly. Legal confirmed. Clients attributed to wrong rep. Clause 7.3c triggered. Bonus built on misrepresented accounts. Reportable violation. Derek tried bluffing, joking about paperwork mix-ups. Then the transfer notices arrived. 2 major clients redirecting funds to competitors, citing change of lead and quoting 7.3c directly. His face strained. I didn't know they were still tied to her. Gerald's reply cut deep. You didn't ask. The fracture widened. Q3 forecast dipped visibly. Finance scrambled. Derek's bonus turned radioactive. Internal chatter mentioned reclassification pending audit. His LinkedIn went quiet after a vague jealousy post that legal likely forced down. No more panels. No blog posts about risk empathy. Meanwhile, I extended my cabin stay, reflecting on the human cost. Trust isn't in logos or platforms, it's in the voice that answers at midnight, the hands that fix glitches, the name clients associate with reliability. I had built that brand quietly. Derek collected pollen like a smug bee. Workers built the hive. By week 2, 6 legacy accounts notified Apex of transition intent, all triggering the clause. Risk immediate. Unspinnable. Gerald stopped media replies. Attended legal reviews personally. The machinery blinked, not Derek yet, but the ledger keepers felt the chill. I received Gerald's consultation inquiry. Are you willing to consult? Sterile admission they were lost without the invisible work. My reply next morning. Only as third-party reviewer. Rates attached. Standard terms. One-time fees. Rider for retroactive data clarification. Professional protocol. Not revenge. The silence after the earthquake was deafening. Everything that stood tall now listed slightly. I had issued the truth through contracts and quiet exits. Clients spoke louder than any confrontation could. Back in Chicago 3 weeks later, I entered through the visitor lobby. Name on the security list. Heels echoed in the elevator to the executive floor. The boardroom held 12 chairs. 9 familiar faces now sharper. Polish gone. Gerald gestured to the authority seat at the table's end. Not subordination. 2 out-of-state directors had flown in. I was no longer former employee. I led as external compliance advisor for the audit and rebuild of their performance attribution system. My team had delivered the 90-day roadmap. Phase 2, Executive Accountability Overhaul. Gerald handed me the manila folder, my original resignation letter, client list, signature, clauses. Wish we'd read this more carefully. I scanned it. Set it down gently. I did. I led the first half, walking through systemic risks, audit failures, new layered attribution model. When we reached leadership gaps, I paused, letting silence settle. No interruptions. They knew now. Truth lived in spreadsheets.
Contracts.
Midnight Trust, not headlines or Derek stories. Derek's office light stayed off for days. His assistant transferred. Name vanished from guest panels. The press release called it executive restructuring. Internally, bonus officially rescinded underperformance agreement clause 4.2. Key card deactivated. Headshot scrubbed by noon. An intern described him staring at the red badge light for 5 minutes. I didn't gloat. The wind was in the silence. My reputation built on results spoke for itself. Clients followed because of human connection, not politics. The $24 million account CEO had handwritten notes thanking me personally. Others remembered flights I took, patience during outages, negotiations over club soda while Derek partied. The board reviewed the anonymous whistleblower file, time-stamped edits, logs, side-by-sides watermarked with my metadata. No public statement needed. 3 directors stayed late, reviewing silently. Truth needed no return address. I walked out that day through the same visitor lobby, but the building felt smaller. No longer building empires for others. Independent consulting. Remote.
Strategic.
First client wired funds within 48 hours. Handwritten notes scanned. Where she goes, we go. The moral lingered. Systems reward the face, not the function, until the function walks away carrying the foundation. Merit whispered louder than politics when backed by ironclad clauses and quiet competence. Derek's golden run paused because someone upstairs braced for impact. The impact was precise, misattribution exposed. Careers realigned quietly. In my new glass office with better view, I updated dashboards for clients who chose continuity over logo. The question remained, how many invisible architects prop up fragile towers before they choose to build their own? The fracture deepened over months. Apex's Q3 numbers required restatement. Finance teams worked overtime tracing every metric back to original sources, my logins, my submission dates. Derek's vision dissolved under scrutiny. No more self-congratulatory threads or podcast drops. His Twitter went dark permanently after legal intervention. I consulted part-time, billing hourly for data clarification. Each invoice due on receipt, non-negotiable. They paid promptly. The remediation included mandatory rep ID verification in all performance calculations and clause reviews in contracts. New layered model credited primary contacts transparently. Clients who stayed cited the clause explicitly. Others who left did so smoothly. Funds redirected without litigation. The $24 million account sent a final thank you, personal call from the CEO acknowledging my midnight support during their crisis. Gerald's demeanor shifted, less dismissive of admin overhead. In follow-up meetings, he asked direct questions about continuity safeguards. I answered clinically, no bitterness. The house of mirrors had cracked. They sliced hands reaching for fixes. Derek reportedly tried Badgen one last time. Stood staring at the red light. No apology came. His plaque sat in a drawer. Interns whispered about the support role, exit that toppled a golden boy. My new role felt lighter. Remote from a home office overlooking Lake Michigan some days. Cabin retreats others. Built reputation on results that followed naturally. No need to scream. Exit had spoken volumes. Clients did the rest. The lingering echo. In corporate America, credit theft thrives until leverage surfaces. Clause 7.3c wasn't dramatic. It was protection born from experience. Women like me learn early that silence is surveillance. Receipts are power. The board never publicly acknowledged the misattribution. Quiet restructuring sufficed. Careers ended in side offices with file boxes and NDAs. Derek's vanished from the website by noon the same day his card failed. I led the final phase, training on human nuance and retention, empathy mapping not as buzzword but lived practice. Attendees included those who once avoided eye contact in elevators. Now they listened. The story closed not with explosion, but precise realignment. Towers built on borrowed credit listed and adjusted. The function reclaimed its due. 1 year later, the view from my consulting practice showed steady growth. 7 former Apex clients under management, expansions negotiated on my terms. The independent brand relied on the same trust that once propped up the old firm. Apex stabilized under new attribution rules. But the fracture left scars. Q4 forecasts adjusted downward permanently from lost accounts. Legal reviews became routine. Gerald sent occasional consultation requests, always professional. Rates paid promptly. Derek's whereabouts faded into industry rumor, lower-tier role at a smaller firm. No more panels. The lesson embedded, overestimating face value while undervaluing function carries cost. I hiked Vermont trails again this fall. Reflecting. The grandmother's bracelet still on my wrist symbolized first-pitch belief in merit. Now tempered by realism, merit needs documentation, leverage, and sometimes walking away. The moral question lingers for anyone in corporate shadows. When does quiet competence become complicity in one's erasure? My answer came through clauses and silence. Others may choose confrontation. Both demand courage. Clients still call my cell in crises. Midnight negotiations continue. But now invoices reflect the value. No more uncredited late nights for others' glory. The system blinked because one person documented the truth. In American workplaces, legal realism meets psychological toll. Underestimation breeds calculated exits that reshape structures. My expressive face in that thumbnail captured the pivot, shock to resolve. The story ends not in revenge but realignment. Empires built on others' bones eventually crumble when the builder leaves. What would you document today if credit were stolen tomorrow? The receipts wait in silence until the moment they speak.